Helen had always considered herself to be in pretty good health. She ate vegetables, took her vitamins, and stayed active enough. But lately, something has shifted. She felt more tired than usual, her joints ached more than they should, and even her mind felt foggy as the day wore on. At first, she chalked it up to aging, but then it hit her. Could it be something more? Could she be falling into habits that were slowly taking a toll on her health? What if her routine wasn't as healthy as she thought? 1. The "I'll just have coffee" trap. Helen's mornings always started with a comforting cup of coffee. It was her quiet moment before the day began. But over time, she began to notice that despite her coffee, by mid-morning, she often felt exhausted again. By early afternoon, she found herself reaching for another cup, hoping to stay awake. She had heard about dehydration, but never took it seriously. After all, coffee was a liquid, so it should count as hydration, right? It didn't occur to her that starting her day without drinking any water meant she was entering the day in a state of dehydration. Helen didn't know that dehydration is linked to brain fog, low energy, joint pain, and digestive discomfort, all things she had been dealing with for a while. After talking to her daughter, who pointed out how dehydration can be especially problematic as we age, Helen decided to make a change. She began her mornings with a glass of water before her coffee. She didn't give up coffee, but made sure to hydrate first. Helen also added a bit of protein to her morning routine. Whether it was a boiled egg, a small bowl of yogurt, or some nuts. Within just a week, Helen felt more alert. Her energy lasted longer, and the headaches and fatigue she had been battling nearly every morning vanished. 2. The "I move enough" trap. Helen had always considered herself fairly active. She cooked, cleaned, ran errands, and took short walks around the neighborhood when she could. But she didn't realize that being busy didn't equate to actually being strong. One day, her grandson came over, and they decided to sit on the floor to play a game. When it was time to stand up, Helen found herself struggling. It took her a few moments and a lot of effort to get back on her feet. That's when it hit her. She had been focusing on staying busy, but her muscles were getting weaker because she wasn't strengthening them. Muscle loss is a real problem for senior women, and it happens silently over time. Without intentional strength training to counteract this, the ability to rise from a chair or bend down can gradually fade. Helen didn't have to start lifting heavy weights, though. She began with small exercises like sit-to-stands from her chair, heel-to-toe walking to improve balance, and even light resistance exercises using a resistance band. The transformation was almost immediate. Within weeks, she noticed her posture had improved. Getting up from the chair felt effortless, and she could even stand for longer without feeling exhausted. She felt stronger than she had in years. Helen realized that being busy didn't mean she was as strong as she thought, and she began making her strength a priority. 3. The healthy packaged food trap. Helen had always prided herself on making healthy choices when it came to food. She bought low-fat yogurt, grabbed granola bars, and picked up diet drinks whenever she went shopping. They were all labeled as healthy, so she assumed she was doing right by her body. She believed these choices were helping her stay in good shape. But for some reason, something still didn't feel quite right. One afternoon, while checking the label on her favorite granola bar, Helen was shocked. The sugar content was higher than that of a candy bar. She couldn't believe it. She thought it must have been a mistake, so she checked some of her other healthy options. The result was the same: hidden sugars, artificial preservatives, and processed ingredients were slipping into her meals despite her best intentions. Helen started to realize that these healthy packaged foods weren't helping her at all. Instead, they were contributing to the energy crashes she felt mid-afternoon, the bloating she couldn't shake, and the constant sugar cravings she'd been struggling with. She had thought she was making the right choices, But now it was clear that these foods weren't offering her the nutrition she needed. Determined to make a change, Helen decided to switch to whole, real foods. She replaced her low-fat yogurt with plain Greek yogurt, adding fresh berries for sweetness. For snacks, she chose nuts and seeds instead of granola bars, and started making homemade salads for lunch, packed with protein and fresh veggies. These simple swaps gave her more control over what she was putting into her body and helped eliminate the hidden sugars and artificial additives. The results were staggering. Within just a week, Helen felt lighter and had more sustained energy throughout the day. The bloating she had struggled with for so long was gone, and she noticed a significant improvement in her digestion. Best of all, her cravings for sugar faded, and she felt more satisfied after meals, no longer reaching for sugary snacks. Making the switch to whole, real foods didn't just improve her physical health, it gave her a sense of empowerment. She realized that what she put in her body truly mattered, and that by choosing cleaner foods, she was giving herself the best possible chance for better health. 4. The not enough balance training. Trap. Helen had always prided herself on staying active. She cooked, cleaned, did the laundry, and walked around the neighborhood a few times a week. She never thought she needed to worry about balance. After all, she was busy and always moving, so balance should come naturally, right? But one afternoon, while walking through the kitchen, Helen tripped over a rug she hadn't noticed. For a split second, she lost her footing. She grabbed the counter, heart racing before steadying herself. The fear lingered long after the moment passed. Balance wasn't what it used to be. That night, Helen mentioned it to her daughter. "It's not just about staying active," her daughter explained. "Balance declines with age and needs practice." Helen was surprised but decided to take action. She started with heel-to-toe walking, focusing on slow, deliberate steps. At first, it felt wobbly, but soon she felt her legs working in ways they hadn't in a while. She added standing on one leg to the mix. Initially shaky, she gradually held longer and began noticing the strength in her core and legs improving. Helen incorporated side leg raises to target her hips. Though difficult at first, these exercises strengthened the muscles supporting her balance. With time, she felt steadier and more confident with each practice. After a few weeks, Helen realized she wasn't just getting stronger, she was more confident. Walking across the kitchen felt effortless, and she wasn't afraid of tripping anymore. She even stopped using the railing when going up the stairs, something she hadn't been able to do for years. By practicing these small balance exercises regularly, Helen regained control over her body and her independence. 5. The skipping protein trap. Helen had always assumed that protein was something only for bodybuilders or athletes. She wasn't lifting weights or doing intense workouts, so she never thought it was necessary for her. Her meals were typically light: toast for breakfast, a simple salad for lunch, and something light for dinner. But after a routine checkup, Helen's doctor asked a simple question that caught her off guard. "Are you getting enough protein?" Helen paused. "I'm not sure," she admitted. "I don't eat a lot of meat, but I try to eat healthy." Her doctor smiled gently and explained that protein is essential at every stage of life, especially as we get older. It's not just about building muscle. It helps with muscle repair, supports bone health, boosts energy levels, and plays a key role in our metabolism. Helen left the doctor's office in shock. She had always believed protein was only important for people who were focused on intense exercise. But now she understood it was crucial for her daily health, whether she was exercising or not. Determined to make a change, Helen decided to slowly introduce more protein into her diet. She started with simple, easy swaps. Instead of just having toast for breakfast, she added eggs. They were quick to cook and packed with protein. For lunch, Helen replaced her usual side of bread with beans in her salads. Beans were full of protein and fiber, making her meals more balanced and satisfying. She also began adding chicken or fish to her dinner, choosing lean meats that didn't take long to prepare. She didn't need to completely overhaul her meals. Just adding a little extra protein at each meal was enough to make a difference. Instead of sugary snacks or low-fat yogurt, Helen started reaching for Greek yogurt, which was higher in protein and had far fewer added sugars. She enjoyed it as a snack in the afternoon or as a base for smoothies. She even threw in a handful of almonds or seeds for added crunch and a protein boost. The changes weren't drastic, but within just a few weeks, Helen began to notice significant improvements. She felt stronger, not just physically, but mentally. Her energy levels were more consistent throughout the day. She no longer felt the need to nap after lunch, and she wasn't hitting a wall in the afternoons. She could get through her day with more energy and less of that midday crash. But the benefits didn't stop there. Helen's hair and nails began to look healthier. Her nails, which had been weak and brittle, were growing faster and stronger. She noticed less dryness in her skin, and her complexion appeared more radiant. It was as though the protein was helping her body recover and rejuvenate itself in ways she hadn't expected. This simple dietary change, which at first seemed like a small adjustment, had a big impact on her overall health. She never realized how much protein was actually needed for her to function optimally. Now that she was giving her body what it needed, she felt more energized, stronger, and ready to take on the day. 6. The sitting too long trap. Helen loved her comfortable chair. She'd sit there reading, watching TV, or chatting with friends for hours, convinced it was the perfect way to unwind. It felt relaxing, a way to give her body the rest it needed. But after a while, she started noticing that the more time she spent sitting, the more sluggish and sore she felt. What she didn't realize was that sitting for extended periods was doing more harm than good. Sitting too long slows down circulation, which leads to stiff joints, weakened muscles, and increased discomfort. She was starting to feel stiff in her back and legs, and even though she wasn't doing anything physically demanding, she felt tired and drained by the end of the day. Helen realized that all this sitting was draining her energy, leaving her with muscle aches and a sense of heaviness she hadn't had before. She began to connect the dots. Her discomfort wasn't just from aging, but from lack of movement. The hours of sitting had been making her body feel sluggish, and her posture was suffering too. Determined to make a change, she decided to start setting reminders to stand up and move. Every 30 to 45 minutes, she'd get up from her chair, stretch, and move around for a few minutes. It wasn't about doing anything too strenuous, just a quick stretch, a walk around the house, or simply shifting positions. Sometimes she'd stand by the window and take a few deep breaths, soaking in the fresh air. Other times, she'd walk to the kitchen for a quick drink of water. At first, it felt a little strange to break her sitting habit, but Helen quickly noticed that these small, consistent breaks made a world of difference. Her back pain started to lessen, and her legs felt lighter after standing up and moving around. She no longer felt stiff and sluggish by the end of the day. Instead, she had more energy and was able to stay alert and active throughout her daily activities. Helen's body was telling her what it needed all along: movement, even if it was just for a few minutes every hour. By making this simple change, she could feel the difference, not only in her body, but in her mood too. She now moves more freely, with less pain, and feels more energized every day. 7. The "it's too late for me" trap. Helen had always believed it was too late to change her habits. She had convinced herself that it was too late to lose weight, too late to get stronger, and too late to start exercising again. With each passing year, she felt the limitations of aging creeping in, and it seemed like her health was something she would simply have to accept. But after some careful reflection and guidance from her daughter, Helen realized that she had been wrong all along. After just a few weeks of making small yet powerful changes, Helen began to feel like a completely different person. She started drinking more water, replacing her usual morning coffee with a glass of water to hydrate her body first. She added protein to her meals, making sure her body had the fuel it needed to stay strong and energized. Helen also began to move with intention, adding simple strength exercises, stretches, and walks into her routine, even finding time to stand up and move around every 30 minutes to break up her sitting time. The results were nothing short of transformative. Within just a few weeks, she noticed she had more energy throughout the day. She felt stronger and more capable of taking on tasks without tiring as easily. She even started to find herself smiling more, noticing the little joys in life that had once seemed so hard to access when she was feeling sluggish and worn out. The biggest lesson she learned: the body is always capable of change, no matter your age. It wasn't too late for her to feel better, get stronger, and live a more vibrant life. It wasn't too late to start taking better care of herself, and most importantly, it wasn't too late to thrive. Are you ready to make these changes too? Which of these traps will you break free from today? Let us know in the comments, and let's keep moving toward better health together.